Yesterday, Sayadaw mentioned that in kaye kayanupasi viharati, in that phrase, Sayadaw mentioned that regarding the arising physical phenomenon, kaye, one must repeatedly observe it as kaya. And to do this, full powers are needed. And Sayadaw mentioned yesterday, what is the essence of atapi? It's ardent effort. And only then will the kilesas dry up. So if ardent energy is not applied, then the moisture of kilesas will enter our mind. In practice, what this means is that as soon as a physical object arises, we need to apply ardent energy to get the mind there, or to get the mindfulness there. If we do that, then we'll be able to come to know the three characteristics of the physicality. It's very important to know these three characteristics. So we need to apply ardent effort, and we also need to be accurate in directing the mind to the object. So we need the quality of aiming, which is done by the mental factor of vitakka. Vitakka aims the mind to the object. It's like it guides it to the object. And in addition to vitakka, this quality of aiming, the quality of vichara is also needed. And it's the object that is that vitakka directs the mind towards. Vichara rubs against that object. Of course, it doesn't really rub, but it's as though it rubs. And what this enables the mind to do is to know the object's nature, whether it's physicality or mentality, and to come to know its characteristics. So it rubs against the object. Without this rubbing quality of vichara, then the true nature and its characteristics of the true nature of the object and its characteristics won't be apparent. So this is how we connect with the object. At the start, our effort is not, we're not skilled with regarding effort yet. So one needs to adjust one's effort, like adjusting the steering on a car, and that's done with the quality of manasikara. Sayadaw mentioned this yesterday, and he's going to go over it again today. In practicing that way, virya, ardent effort, is needed so that mindfulness doesn't miss the object. So this effort to note the object must be active, because without it, sati, mindfulness, won't stick to the object. With ardent effort, sati sticks to the object, and this is what is meant by the word patana. It sticks to the object and abides there, stays there. If we note like this many times, then sati will become sustained on the object. It will be steadfast. So the mind must be active. Without this ardent effort, the mind will be sluggish, casual, and lazy. So we have to always apply this active effort so that the mind also will be active and fresh, without laziness or casualness. As much as our effort is active, our mindfulness will be there and will be good. So for sati to stick to the object, virya is an essential partner And not just one moment of virya either. One moment of virya after another has to happen in order to help the sati become steadfast. To make our ardent effort good so that we can develop that type of sati, our desire, zeal, chanda must be strong. We need to have the desire to have mindfulness each time the object arises. And only if we have that desire will we apply the effort and sati becomes steadfast. So one has to want the quality of steadfast sati, steadfast mindfulness. One has to want the quality of ardent effort. So one needs to trust for this type of desire to arise, zeal. One has to have trust that doing this makes the mind clean. Making the mind clean is a good thing to do. And one has to have that type of trust in the result that comes. Only then will there be zeal. This chanda or zeal depends on faith, trust, confidence. And if that's not there won't be any zeal or chanda. And it can't just be ordinary. It needs to be strong zeal. And if one knows the benefits of satipatthana practice, as one begins the practice, then one's chanda will be strong. One has to have the attitude that if our effort is active, it's good. If the mindfulness sticks to the object, it's good. So only then will one apply oneself. And Sayadaw has discussed this before, but he's doing so again now in some detail. Khanika samadhi, momentary samadhi, has the nature of jhana, but not samatha jhana. This is Vipassana jhana. So this samadhi is falling collectively on the object. This is the nature of samadhi. And with that, for the object to fall, the factors, other jhanic factors are also involved. Piti, joyous interest, sukha, happiness, and ekagata, one-pointedness. These are also jhanic factors. So for the object to fall collectively on the object, collectively and penetratively, one first of all needs vitakka, accurate aim, focusing, so that the mind and the object, the mind is in alignment with the object. So vitakka guides the mind to the object. And then, because of the mind connecting directly with the object, the factor of vichara, which rubs the object. So, for example, if the rising arises, sometimes what the mind connects with is stiffness. It rubs against stiffness. Sometimes it rubs against or connects with tension, and sometimes movement when this factor of vichara is present. So the aim is there to guide the mind to the object, and vichara rubs against the object, against the qualities of the object arising. So this is how vichara helps. And following that, one sees that objects arise one after another. So in making the object more clear, this quality of vichara, or rubbing against the object, is very important. And when one connects directly with the object, there's no wavering. The wavering is the quality of vicikicca, which can't decide about the object. So these vichara eliminates that. And due to having a direct hit against the object, there's happiness and joyous interest. These qualities also arise. So when one is satisfied, the mind falls collectedly on the object. And for this to happen, the jhanic factors mentioned give much support. At that moment, there's vitakka, which is aiming and focusing. And for the three characteristics of phenomenon to become apparent, the quality of vichara is very important, is necessary. So this is known as savitaka, savichara. This is how jhana is described in the Pali. So if one connects and rubs against the object a little bit, then there will be a little bit of piti and sukha, a little bit of joyous interest and happiness. And this joyous interest and happiness, piti and sukha, come from being free of nivaranas. So it's said vivekaja, piti sukha. Because one is free of the nivaranas, the obstacles to concentration. At the start, kanika samadhi is not very good. It slips often. So there will be a little bit of piti, and this feels good. This is the precursor to vipassana jnana. At the start, our effort to note the object has ups and downs. Sometimes the virya is good, and so then we are able to catch the object. And those are the ups. And sometimes virya is excessive and the aim is off. So the virya is too much, and because the aim is off, it's not there to adjust. So these two factors aren't balanced, and one needs to balance them. So by adjusting the virya and aim, we can make sure that there's no lack. The virya is not falling short of the object, and also not going over not overshooting the object. So these factors of aiming and effort always need to be in balance, and to adjust them. If we adjust them, there won't be any misses. So when virya and aiming, vitakka, are balanced, then there won't be any gaps, there won't be any misses, and every second will be direct. So this is the quality of manasikara that enables this to happen. Manasikara is what steers the virya, the effort to get to the object, and aiming, the factor that aligns the mind with the object. It guides them so that they are accurate. And when this is working well, when this manasikara is working well, then the objects just seem to line up to be noted. The rising, the falling, other objects too. It's just like they're lining up ready to be noted. And manasikara is the quality that does this. And its functions so that the mind is never without an object. And as the power of virya and the power of aiming are always being balanced. As this is happening, the ever new arising object, the mind is always falling collectively on the ever new arising object. So manasikara is the quality which causes this to happen, for the mind to fall collectively on the ever new arising object. In some places in the text, manasikara is included in bhavana under that heading. It's considered to be a main factor. And it said sadhukang savana, sadhukang manasikara, sasana sampatti. So this means that one who really wants one's being to be cultured, there are 3 trainings for doing this, and this is the guidance of the Buddha, the sasana. The sasana describes the 3 trainings for dispelling the 3 grades of kilesas. So this guidance of the Buddha is called sasana. And it's that training for which with which we can become cultured. So the sasana to be complete, these 3 trainings given by the Buddha to be complete, to be fulfilled in us, there are 2 qualities, 2 causes that are mentioned. And the first was sadhukang savana. And that means to listen respectfully, to learn the method of practice, the correct method. And the second is sadhukang manasikara. Having listened to the method respectfully and taken it to heart, one walks the Vipassana path straight. One has to walk once one's learned the method, one has to follow it as it is. So one needs yoniso manasikara for that. If yoniso manasikara, if we have that factor helping us, then the mind will always be with an object. It has the quality of filling up the gaps and leveling the bumpy parts. So it's the quality that makes us able to walk this path of Vipassana practice in a straightforward way, always having an object to note. So these 2 factors are very important. If one wants to be free of the 3 grades of kilesas, the gross, the medium, and refined in one's being, one needs sadhukang savana, listening respectfully to the method, and sadhukang manasikara, which is taking it to heart and applying wise consideration so that one always has an object. And if one has these, one's training will become complete. So manasikara is very important, and it's mentioned in many, many places in the text. But Sayadaw is not going to mention them here. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the word atapi is mentioned, and that means one who has ardent effort. And if you take away the E at the long I at the end, it becomes atapa, which is making ardent effort. So this ardent effort has 4 aspects. One is to prevent, if a kusala has arisen, these qualities, a kusala which can drag us down to the depths, if that has arisen, it's the effort to dispel it. And the second aspect is to prevent such qualities, such similar qualities, from arising in future. And the third aspect is to cause wholesome qualities, kusala, that have not yet arisen to arise. And the fourth aspect is to develop wholesomeness, kusala, which has already arisen, so that it becomes larger and larger, greater and greater. So this is what is meant by atapavirya, this ardent effort. And one who is practicing with ardent effort should take the attitude that may my blood dry up. So what if my blood dries up? So what if there's nothing left but bones and skin, if they all become dried and withered? So what? Because such a one is aiming for Nibbana. And one who wants Nibbana will not give up until getting it. So this is the attitude that we have to have in our practice. And if one really wants to have Nibbana, this is the type of effort that is needed. And even in a few days, this type of effort can be generated. So when Sayadaw says this, don't let doubt come up in your mind. The person who is giving this Dhamma talk, that means Sayadaw, is not just speaking from, he's speaking from text and also personal experience. So, as Sayadaw said, may my muscles, bones, and skin be all that remains. May my blood dry up. So what if that happens? Okay. So, in that case, we'll be dead. One will be dead if that happens. But one has to remember that the Buddha did not preach the path to death. He didn't tell us to do this in order to die. So the only thing that dies when we practice are the kilesas. And if we practice a little bit, they'll die a little bit. A few of them will die. And if we practice to a moderate extent, some more of them will die. And if we practice fully, they will die completely. And at that point there will be peace. So some people think, this is too strenuous, and they're afraid. But one shouldn't be afraid. This is not the path to human death. This is not the path to death for humans. It's only the path to death for the kilesas. And for the practitioners, it's the path to the cool peace of Nibbana. What happens if one doesn't make ardent effort to note the object? If one either doesn't do it at all or doesn't do it without a break? For the ordinary person, whenever there's seeing, hearing, tasting, touching, smelling, and thinking, whenever there's any experience at any of the 6 sense doors, because there's no mindfulness, then kilesas will enter based on that experience. So our minds will become, these kilesas, they're compared to moisture or dampness. And this dampness of raga, lust, will fill our mind. The dampness of anger. And every single time there will be lack of knowledge, there will be ignorance or knowing in the wrong way. And there will be other mental defilements as well. So if our mind is soggy and damp, then at no time will it be alert and fresh. And if we have a mind that is always damp with the kilesas, then we won't have any mental stability, no clarity. So if there's no stability, there's no stable quality, calmness or collectedness, there will be no samadhi. And without samadhi, it goes without saying that there won't be any vipassana. So if on top of this, our sila is not complete, we won't be a true human being. So we won't have the practice, so no samadhi and no knowledge either. So although we have human intelligence, we won't be able to conduct oneself as a true human being. Practicing as we are now, focusing on the abdomen, and every time the physical group of the rising arises, every time the falling arises, making effort to note the object. When we do this, there's no laziness or sluggishness that can get in. We're applying heat, and because of that, warmth arises and lightness. And if we do this many times, if we apply effort to observe the object many times with aiming, then sati arises. And as good as our virya is, as much as the virya enters our mind, sati will also enter the mind and be good. And this is what is indicated by the word satima. So it means one who has sati, but not just ordinary sati. This sati is really exceptional. This is indicated by the suffix ma at the end. So it means one who has exceptional sati, satima. When there's virya and samadhi and sati sticking to the mind, sticking to the object, then the mind is protected from disturbances. There's no kilesas that can get in. And the mind is very stable. And this is like jhana. And due to this effort, due to our good effort, the path factors connected with samadhi arise. So at that point, because of the continuous mindfulness, kilesas can't enter our mind. And therefore, we come to know as described by the word sampajano. So we come to know physicality and mentality, rupa and nama. We come to know cause and effect, how these two are related by cause and effect. And when one knows this for oneself, correctly, fully, in a special and distinct way. And this is called sampajanya. Knowing in this way is called sampajanya. So yogis who possess virya, possess sampajanya. This type of knowing for oneself directly, correctly, fully, specially and distinctly. So if we analyze a moment of practice, there's art and effort to observe the object, and that's samavayama, right effort. And the mindfulness is sticking to the object. That's samasati, right mindfulness. And the mind is collected on the object. This is sama-samadhi, right concentration. So 3 parts of the path, of the Noble Eightfold Path, are present. And these dispel the obsessive kilesas, pariyotana kilesas. Later, when knowledge develops, we know the object, and therefore the root of kilesas are dispelled. So we know the object, and that's samaditi, right view or wisdom. And there's also aim. Our aim is accurate, and that's sammasankappa. So there's two paths, two parts of the wisdom part of the path. So altogether this is called the five-limbed path, the path with five parts. The samadhi kanda, the three path factors of samadhi, they dispel the pariyotana kilesas, and panya kanda, the wisdom part of the path, dispels the latent kilesas, the seeds of the kilesas. As far as sila goes, while we are practicing, we are naturally fulfilled with sila because our intention is not to transgress should any opportunity arise. So we, due to our practice, due to this intention, cetana, we have samavacha, right speech, samakamanta, right action, and samaajiva, right livelihood. And this makes a total of 8. These are all, the total of 8 path factors are present. Anupasana is just these 8. And one who possesses this anupasana, observing with these 8 factors, is called anupasi. Such a person, such a yogi, regarding the object of observation and regarding objects which are also not observed, regarding any compound phenomenon, the yogi is dispelling kilesas. The kilesas do not have a chance to arise. With every noting, there's a moment of dispelling the kilesas. And that is called Tadanga Pahana. That's dispelling on a momentary basis. When we have many moments like this, we gain Vikkhambhana Pahana, which is the point where we've distanced the kilesas and they're very far away from us. So one who possesses these gets the benefits of momentary peace with Tadanga Pahana, and also more lasting peace with Vikkhambhana Pahana. So in order to get the big peace, the great peace of Nibbana, make effort to get these first 2 types of peace which are necessary in order to reach Nibbana. Sayadaw mentioned Tadanga Vinaya. I said Pahana, but the phrase is Tadanga Vinaya. So what does this mean? What is the ability that is described by this phrase? There's 3 parts, ta and anga and vinaya. Vinaya means dispelling. And what we dispel with, ta, it means with anupasana jnana, with the mind that is observing, with anupasana jnana. Vinaya means to dispel. And what is dispelled? The kilesas which would otherwise arise if we didn't note, if there weren't any noting. So it means, Tadanga Vinaya means the dispelling with the noting mind, with the anupasana jnana of the kilesas which would otherwise arise if there were no noting. And when this Tadanga Vinaya becomes more and more, when we have many moments of this, then sometimes we miss an object, or sometimes we even miss for 2 or 3 minutes. But due to our momentum, in particular due to the momentum of our effort, the kilesas don't arise. This is called Vikkhambhana Vinaya, dispelling them with by making them very, very distant. So a yogi who has good noting, every second of the time gets the benefit of Tadanga Vinaya, and with many notings gets the benefit of Vikkhambhana Vinaya. Our practice is to get these 2 results, That's all. There's nothing to hope for. There's just try to know the object in every moment. And because 1 hour is up, that'll be all for today.